Hello and welcome to the home of snooker, the Crucible. Coming up in this special show.
I say goodbye to the Crucible, or I say goodbye to play, and then, I said goodbye to a lot of good things that are happening in snooker for me.
Just try and change the image a little bit for certain tournaments, maybe just to relax the dress code a little bit and stuff like that, and just try and make it just that little bit cooler for the younger generation.
Can you imagine a darts player making a 9-darter and not looking at the crowd? Another record I've got. What's that? First time he's ever been took off in the semi-final.
It's the last day of this year's Betfred World Snooker Championship final. About 10 minutes to go.
And we are joined by the 2021 Betfred World Snooker Champion. How does that sound?
Sounds amazing, mate. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, a great game against Shaun. I thought he played great from start to finish, and I was battling all the way through. Just had to try and dig in patches. I had a good session yesterday, winning 7-2, come back from 5-3 to 10-7, and I think that was the difference between me winning and losing the match.
He had back-to-back centuries. Do you think, he's coming back here?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't hold back from start to finish. He went for his shots. Very, very similar to when he won it himself in 2005. That's how he played, just really, really attacking. And he plays to his strengths, his strengths is his long game, and some of the balls he knocked in was unbelievable.
But you showed balls of steel, didn't you, for that clearance at the end?
Yeah, I mean, normally in practice you think that you should clear that 10 times out of 10, but to do it for a world title, it sort of multiplies, the pressure out there is incredible. So to hold myself together for that clearance for a fourth world title was a great feeling.
And what was going through your mind when you put in the black?
Yeah, just pure elation. I mean, I thought to myself, look, surely you can't miss this. But I was down on the shot, and then a couple of the cameramen sort of got in my eye line just as a walkway where you go out the arena to the toilet. And I thought, don't do this to me. I got back up and I thought, now I've got a chance to miss it, because they've sort of the pressure's multiplied now. I think I was going to pot it the first time, but thankfully I managed to compose myself and roll it in, and then it was just pure elation that came out.
And what was that sense of relief?
Yeah. I mean, it's just something you don't mean to do. You just think you're just going to pot it and that's it. But then, them last 2 weeks have been tough. A lot of highs and a lot of lows. Sometimes you had some bad sessions and don't play great. But I think I only lost 2 sessions over the whole tournament, so I've played some great snooker.
A word on your coach, Chris Henry?
Yeah.
Just a year now, is it?
Yeah, well, 10 months. The first time we worked together was here last year, so August time, so probably 10 months ago. So, yeah, fantastic guy off the table, and done wonders for me on the table. I think I can honestly say if it wasn't for me working with him, then I probably wouldn't be sitting here, and I probably wouldn't have even got to the semi-final last year either.
Because I don't think people realise this is a real marathon, but it's really tough mentally as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as far as sports-wise goes, I think it's probably the hardest sport in the world mentally, because once you're in that chair, there's nothing you can do. It's out of your control. Doesn't matter how good you are in that chair. If you could be Ronnie O'Sullivan, but once you're sat in the chair, you can't do anything. Where in other sports, you can golf, if you play a bad shot, you can recover next shot, but snooker, you can play a bad shot, it can basically cost you 3 or 4 frames.
That is number 4.
Yeah, unbelievable to win it 4 times and equal John Higgins now is just something I can only dream of. John Higgins is one of the all-time greats, so to be in that category as well with him is crazy.
And you're only 37.
37, but I feel 57 after these last 2 weeks, mate. But no, yeah, 37. When you look at people like John, Ronnie, Mark Williams, 43, 44, still at the top of the game. So as long as I stay healthy and fit and still got the hunger, then who knows?
A couple of very, very special moments. When you came out at 1 o'clock today, the capacity crowd, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And when you came out tonight, after what everyone's been through, to play in front of a capacity crowd.
Oh, it was amazing. Like you say, I've been in 5 world finals, and that was probably the best as far as as electric as it's ever been. In all the other ones, I played Ronnie O'Sullivan in a final, and you'd think obviously that would be the greatest atmosphere. But for me, out of all the finals I've played in, that's probably the best atmosphere I've played in. And I think it was same with them, with me when I potted the black at the end and I gave it the fist and the roar. They're probably cheering because of not been any live sport for nearly a year. They're just as excited as everybody else.
It was a great atmosphere. It was a capacity crowd as well. World Snooker have worked so hard to get this capacity crowd Here's Rob Walker.
After 8 months of action behind closed doors, it has been absolutely brilliant to get the crowds back here at the Crucible. Quite a few health and safety procedures to adhere to, as you would expect, and thanks to a massive amount of work behind the scenes by the World Snooker Tour staff, the crowds are back. And I cannot tell you how amazing that's been for the players, for the fans themselves, and for all of us connected to the sport. Snooker has really stepped up to the plate over the last few months.
You find something because they're there, you know what I mean? It's sort of like natural instinct.
So good to have fans back, and to be honest, I don't think I would have even got close if there wasn't that kind of support.
It feels like forever ago since we played in front of a crowd, so to come here, even in the first round, I know there wasn't a full house, but because we've not played in front of people for nearly 12, 15 months, it felt like it was a full house, so it was great.
You know, they have been that sort of 12th man, you know, analogy, and, you know, they've fed me and I've tried to give them a little bit back. And listen, you know, I've always needed that big stage and that crowd to sort of feed off, and long may it continue.
Firstly, the fact that we're being allowed to do it is a direct reflection on the job that snooker has done, not just for snooker, but for sport, for mental health of sports fans who have been starved of live TV. Over the last 12 months, the job World Snooker teams have done has been second to none. The only the only adjective that's been described to it by everyone who's seen what they've done is exemplary, and that sums up what they've done. They've put us in this position to be a shoe-in choice for the government to say, if we need pilot events, there is nothing better than the World Snooker Championships over 17 days with over 40 sessions where we're collecting data which will educate us for the benefit of sport, cinemas, theatres, indoor entertainment, indoor sports. They will all benefit from the job that my team has done here at Sheffield.
Well, one of the reasons we've had such a successful experimental journey back to crowds in these fantastic arenas is because everybody behind the scenes has worked tirelessly, none more so than the event director, Donna Beresford. Donna, this has been a marathon amount of paperwork to get crowds back, hasn't it?
It's been the biggest work journey I think I've ever taken, and a lot of the rest of the team as well. It's been immense. It's been incredibly inspiring and inspires a big sense of kind of pride for all of us to be able to be at this forefront of getting live sport back through these treacherous times. So it's been a really big undertaking, but with a huge reward.
And it's a real honour for snooker because I guess from a government point of view, we ticked 2 boxes for the price of 1 because it's getting live sport back, but also people want to be able to go and watch indoor theatre shows. So it's been a real honour for the sport to be part of this journey.
It really has, and for the government we were a very special box to tick in terms of the event research programme. So this incredible event is obviously in this theatre setting, and that would directly go towards the reopening of theatres in the West End and in the rest of the UK. So to be involved and to be able to open hopefully another door for some of our other friends in the DCMS departments is a great honour.
Well, here we go. After so much hard work from so many different people, it's the last day of this year's Betfred World Snooker Championship final. About 10 minutes to go, and look at this. We have a sellout crowd. It's going to be absolutely amazing. What a climax to an unbelievable edition of the Betfred World Snooker Championship. We're all so grateful to see so many faces, and the noise here is going to be incredible.
Fantastic effort by everyone to have a capacity crowd for the final. Well done, World Snooker, well done the Crucible, well done to everyone involved. Well, Ronnie O'Sullivan, our defending champion, went out in the second round to Anthony McGill, but after his defeat he revealed he's going to stick around here at the Crucible for at least the next 5 years.
If I say goodbye to the Crucible, I could say goodbye to playing, then, you know, I've said goodbye to a lot of good things that are happening in snooker for me, you know, and I don't really want to do that. I look back and I think about it, I think, I could have probably won 10 if I'd have found some little bit of consistency, or, hadn't wasted 7, 8, 9, 10 years of my career. But listen, nothing's ever plain sailing. So, I'm like I said, sometimes, I was just happy to get 1 at one point. So to get 6 is, I'm pretty comfortable with that sort of achievement in a way, yeah. I've probably got another 5 years, I suppose. I'm the way I look after myself, the way I play, I look around, there's some decent players about, some very, very good players, but, I suppose I could get it right maybe one more time, but like I said, it's probably the only record I haven't got, so I'm not going to be too hard on myself. I've just got to try and find some enjoyment within the game if I can, that's the only thing I struggle with. Is accepting that I can't play well all the time, it's just really because it's such a nice feeling when you do,
Judd Trump, the winner in 2019, lost to Shaun Murphy in the quarter-finals, but in an exclusive interview with Rob Walker, Judd, the world number 1, reveals his snooker manifesto.
Well, Judd, first question, how have you enjoyed your commentary and punditry debut?
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun, really. It wasn't something that I was expecting at the start of the tournament or anything like that. Obviously came here to do well and didn't quite do as well as I wanted to, but the opportunity kind of came up after, and I thought I'd give it a shot and enjoyed it probably a lot more than I thought I would. And for me, it was just fun, just trying to give people a fresh perspective from someone sort of still on the inside at the top, and just let them know sort of my points of view and how to read players as they're walking in, body language and that kind of thing. So just something from a fresh new angle for the people at home.
And that's something that you've mentioned a couple of times. I know you're really good about feeling as though you have an ambassadorial role with snooker because you are the world number 1. And you are keen that we somehow harness the next generation or the current generation of TV audiences. And maybe we need to do more of you and Jack in order to do that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, when they're sat at home, they all like their own things, and you never know what someone's going to like or dislike. And I just thought that with me and Jack coming in, we've had a lot of good feedback, and obviously if we didn't do too well, then we wouldn't do it again. But if people want to see us and just try and introduce some of the younger players and get their thoughts and ideas and perspective on things, then it can only be good for the game. And I just think having some of the older players along with the younger players and different kind of commentary, different kind of shots in the studio and stuff like that, I just think is sort of a bit of a breath of fresh air, and just sort of shed some light on how we feel, as well as how the people from sort of yesteryear played the game.
And are you in any way concerned that perhaps we're not quite managing to get, the 18, 19, 20, 25-year-olds interested in watching snooker? Is that something that occasionally you think about?
Yeah, I feel that snooker is doing brilliantly well. I think from where we were 10 years ago, everyone has chipped in and done their part and really tried to focus on bringing the game to another level, and I think it has been. But there's always room for improvement in any sport, and I feel like snooker is a good place, but we can still keep improving. And I just kind of feel like that if I'm going to come out and say stuff needs to change, then I should try and help and chip in as much as I can as well. And being number 1 I feel like you have a responsibility to try and help bring the game up as much as possible. And yeah, it's something that I've been thinking of over the past couple of years. And if the younger generation can kind of see me and see what I'm doing on the table, off the table, hopefully I can get to more finals and I don't have to do it too often. But if they can just see me kind of working with a smile on my face, enjoying myself, playing snooker, chipping in commentary behind the scenes and stuff, there's so much work that goes into it behind the scenes as well that people don't see, and it's nice for me to be able to see and experience that and kind of just have a new kind of thinking pattern and just appreciate everything that goes on to make these tournaments happen.
Shaun Murphy's made some interesting comments at the World Championship about the fact that he feels he is an entertainer, and there's a little bit of a responsibility to put on a show. And I know you're really good about that. Once you've secured a frame, it's not a disrespect to your opponent, and you've got to a century, you will go for a few exhibition shots. Do you think that is an avenue that should be explored a little bit more, that people should be encouraged? You've still got to win a match, and you win a match however you win a match. If you come through a 50-minute safety battle, that's fine. But do you think there should be a greater emphasis on entertaining as well as winning?
Yeah, I certainly think so. And I think Shaun in this tournament, in times in the past, he's probably always tried to do the right kind of thing and be the ultimate gentleman. I just feel like his personality has really come across in this tournament, and I think it spurred him on a lot in some of the games. He was in big trouble in the semi-final, and just showing himself his true colours and just the passion he had, and really helped him through that game. And it's just important, because when the crowd see that, it doesn't happen often in snooker, and I think they really get behind you, and they just enjoy seeing sort of the raw emotion come out. And for some of the players, you just can't help yourself. It's nothing. It's not trying to put off your opponent or anything like that. I know in snooker it's kind of still forbidden, really, that anyone show any emotion, whereas in any other sport it's just a normal thing to do. And you're not putting your opponent off. You're just doing it to sort of G yourself up. And I think it can only be good for snooker, and Shaun doing that this week. And I think you've seen Anthony McGill. There's normally like sort of two of the quietest people on the table.
Yeah.
And for them just to sort of let out their emotion, I think is sort of really connected with the people at home.
In terms of the age of top players at the moment, we'll always revere the class of 92, and at some stage they will pass their peak, and that will leave a gap. And then there's people like you and Jack, very early 30s. Kyron, I think, is still just about 29. Are you a little bit concerned about the lack, or the seeming apparent lack, of 23, 24, 25-year-old world-class players coming through? Because we do need to know that there are other Judd Trumps about to emerge, but the standard is so high from the older guys that's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, there are players coming through. I just think that it takes a lot longer nowadays, especially with the way that the sort of qualifying criteria is set up. It's all a little bit different to when I come through. You're sort of met with the best players in the world from the very start, and I just think it takes that little bit longer. I think they're all there. All these players are there. They just take a lot longer to come through, like Jack Lazowski, Anthony McGill, Kyron. Probably it's all sort of late 20s nowadays, and I think Yan Bingtao kind of being the exception. There's a couple of other young Chinese players, sort of 21, 22. Just think it takes, rather than 5 years, it takes sort of 10 years nowadays. It takes an extra few years to really find your feet in professional snooker, and I'm not too worried about them. I think it just takes a lot longer to reach that standard when you've got sort of 3 or 4 of the best all-time players still in the game. You're always going to struggle to get players to meet up to that standard, and you've got sort of Mark Selby, Shaun Murphy, who are in the World Championship final, Neil Robertson. I mean, the standard is just so high that I don't even think Shaun was talked about in this tournament.
No, you're probably right, because he'd had an average season.
Yeah, and it just shows how good he is. He's played some unbelievable stuff at times in this tournament, and you've got players like that just who can't even get a mention. That's how good the standard is.
That is a really good point. You touched there on Yan Bingtao. That was some performance to win the Betfred Masters, wasn't it? I think he's the first player since Mark Selby, and I think Mark did this in 2008, the first player since Selby to win it at the first attempt, to do it at the age of 21, coming through so many final frame deciders. Incredible maturity for a player so young. He is a massive star in the making, isn't he?
Yeah, I just think the way his game is as well is so suited to sort of professional snooker. I think some of the other players coming through sort of struggle with finding the right balance, and he's got it at such a young age. And I think you just see with him, his standard never really fluctuates. It's always very similar. Same with Mark Selby. And I think if you really want longevity in the sport, that you kind of need that kind of game from an early age. And he's learned everything so young, and I think it eventually will just pay off on the other Chinese players, Asian players, and even players from Europe, UK, they know that they've got to be practicing their safety from a very early age.
Can you see Jan winning the world title? First Asian player, first Chinese player to do that. Do you think he might beat Ding? Bearing in mind Ding's still only 33. But
so hard. I don't think he's ready just yet, to be honest. I think in the World Championship, your scoring has to be just another level, and I'm just not sure he quite has that yet. I think Ding is still the better scorer, but temperament-wise, you'd probably put Yang Bingtao just a little bit ahead. So if you could kind of merge the two players, it would be the ultimate player. But I think Yang Bingtao, for me, at this moment in time, probably is just a little bit of a better chance now.
Obviously, you haven't been able to go into too many snooker clubs. You do a few exhibitions here and there, but you've got plenty of friends in the snooker circuit. Do you think there's still enough kids taking up our sport? Because some snooker clubs are sort of struggling. Are we getting enough at the entry level at the moment, do you think?
No, I think there's so many sort of obstructions, and it's just so many different things for younger people to do nowadays that snooker doesn't really get the same attention at a younger level that it had maybe 20 years ago when I was coming into the game, and people just see sort of the headlines of other sports, the money being thrown around, the publicity around football, tennis, golf and stuff like that. I think snooker sometimes gets a bit lost, and I think it's important for me, being the age I am and the style I play, I think is probably more appealing to the younger generation, and if I can try and help as much as possible and kind of let them know that snooker can be fun and you can have a good time as well, and just try and change the image a little bit for certain tournaments, maybe just to relax the dress code a little bit and stuff like that, and just try and make it just that little bit cooler for the younger generation. And yeah, it's something that I'm passionate about trying to help.
Well, you're certainly doing the right things at the moment. Fantastic ambassador as world number one. Great to have a chat, and long may the new chapter reign. I'm looking forward to hearing you and seeing you. I'd quite like to sit alongside you in the commentary box at some stage, maybe the UK Championships. Cheers, Judd.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you.
And Judd Trump has been absolutely superb as part of the BBC team. Well, we had two amazing semi-finals, and for the first time ever, they both finished on Saturday night.
I don't think enough of the players do enough to entertain. It's not all about what happens on the table. And I think maybe my antics over the last couple of days, whilst they've been completely spur of the moment things, it's not something I've done by design. I'm getting the sense it might have ruffled a few feathers.
He's probably tried it to try and get to me. I didn't really let it get to me. It didn't bother me. It just made me chuckle a little bit. But Shaun's got to do what he's got to do. He's come out victorious, and that's all that matters.
Can you imagine a darts player making a 9-darter and not looking at the crowd?
He was flawless. Long potting was sensational. Going for balls that a lot of us probably wouldn't even go for and knocking them in. And when his timing's there, he's a hard man to stop.
Listen, but apart from winning the tournament, this is the best feeling you get in snooker. You've won the second biggest match of the tournament, getting through to the biggest match. And will I sleep tonight? I'm not sure.
I'll win this one day. Like I say, I'm 29. I'm going to keep growing, keep trying to work out what went wrong, and just come back stronger the next year.
It was funny because I was back at the apartment and Vicky said to me, she said, "Oh, try and get some sleep for a little bit." And then I sort of nodded off, and then about 10 minutes later she woke me up and said, "Look, you need to get ready. Shaun's 16-12. We need to get back." So I didn't really have too much of a rest, but in a way it was quite nice, because if that gone 17-16, I might have not been going on till half 11-12 at night. So you wouldn't really wanted that. Another record I've got. First time he's ever been took off in the semi-final. Forever creating records.
You play sort of literally what's in front of you, we all know Mark Selby loves to grind out frames, and he's maybe done a bit of a number. So
I mean, I've never ever tried to do any kind of stuff like gamesmanship ever in my life in any match. I just go out there and try my hardest, and that's all I do. I mean, my dad always installed in me, just go out there and just give everything until that last ball's potted.
Obviously it's going to be a hard one to swallow, but it is what it is. Just today for me just didn't seem to happen.
I'll probably be second favourite no matter who I play. And you know what? That suits me down to the ground.
Yeah, it feels amazing. To get to another world final is incredible.
It would mean the absolute world to come back here and win a second title. It doesn't happen to everyone, and it would be a thrill to find myself in that club of people who've won it more than once.
Are you up for a scrap?
Always up for a scrap.
Yeah, there certainly were two cracking semi-finals, and I'm joined by Shaun Murphy, who's just been involved in a cracking final. Shaun, well, I thought you were going to come back.
Yeah, there was a time I thought I was going to come back too. There was a mini, like a small mini wobble, and I just sort of put centuries in, back-to-back centuries, and I thought, here we go. But it wasn't to be in the end. Too little, too late.
Yeah, those two back-to-back centuries made it 17-15.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, it's a match, it's a test. It's certainly playing Selby, it's like a forensic exam. It tests every aspect of your game, and losing that second session 7 frames to 2 to go 10-7 behind from a 5-3 advantage, I think really probably broke the back of the match. It was 3 frames advantage was too big a lead to give somebody like Mark Selby.
And how good is he? That's 4 world titles now for Mark.
Yeah, I think now he has to be looked at in terms of the conversation about who's the best ever. Obviously, he's behind in terms of titles won, but he's playing in a different era, and it's difficult to compare apples and oranges and all the rest of it. And I know that, and certainly from my opinion, having played him now at his best, I've got him down as the best all-rounder we've ever seen. He scores so highly, his long potting's deadly, his positional play so accurate, his tactical play we know is the strongest we've probably ever seen, as I know better than anyone else. But he's just super granite.
He's a hell of a match player, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that term gets bandied around. I'm not 100% sure what it means, but he's just your ultimate snooker player, and what he has in abundance, more than I've got anyway, is patience. He's willing to stand there all day if that's what it takes. We must have had half a dozen frames over the match where we were 10, 15, nearly 20 minutes deep and not a ball had been potted. And I find that hard to do time after time after time, whereas he's happy to stand there all day, and all credit to him.
You're 38 years of age. Does the experience of the last 17 days think to you that you can win it again?
Yeah, I have to admit, after losing 6 years ago and having some bad results here over the last few years and the terrible year I've had on the table and off it, those hopes and dreams have probably gone, to be honest. But I think what I've shown to myself, if no one else this fortnight, is that my best game is still pretty good. And who knows, maybe my best snooker is still ahead of me.
Because obviously it was a great comeback in the semi-final. You loved that, didn't you?
Yeah, I loved it, yeah. And of course, the burst of 5 frames from 12 each to get over the line 17-12, I was desperate for a bit of that at the end of that final, I have to say. And, back-to-back centuries, I thought I was on a bit of a roll. And I think maybe, who knows if I could have managed to win what turned out to be the last frame. Who knows?
It looked like the swagger and the showman was back.
Yeah, he's never been away. He's just the ball stopped going in the pockets. You can't swagger if you're sat in your chair. But no, listen, in all seriousness, it's great to be back out playing in front of a live crowd. That's what's made the difference for me over this championship, and long may it continue.
How good have the fans been over the last 17 days?
They've been phenomenal, but I think you could sense from them, these people have been locked in their homes for months. We've not been out. No one's been to a sporting event. No one's been out for dinner in the restaurant. No one's been to the cafe. No one's been to a cinema. None of us have been out. And you could sense from them they were so thrilled to be here. They were willing to be tested before they got here, tested on arrival. They're going to be tested in 4 or 5 days after. That's a rigmarole that we're used to on tour, but the public aren't used to it. And for them to go through those endeavours, make it to the Crucible, it was only our job to put on a good show.
And after the year we've had, like you said, a capacity crowd for the final. I mean, that is phenomenal, isn't it?
It was
World Snooker
unbelievable.
have done is phenomenal.
It was unbelievable to be part of, I have to say. The reception we both got in the final for over the 2 days was absolutely phenomenal. It was proper make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It was just wonderful to be part of. And, when we look back and say that this period of time led us out of COVID restrictions, it will be great to say we were a part of it.
Certainly, and it's going to open hopefully cinemas, music venues, theatres, a lot, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I think Andrew Lloyd Webber, he rang Barry a month ago. Let's see what their conversation's like now.
Good stuff. Right, just before we finish, a word on the coach, Chris Henry.
Listen, I've known how good he is for a long, long time. I look back to that conversation about 18 months ago when he asked me, was it okay if he started working with Mark Selby? I should have said no. What an idiot I was.
2 more questions for you before we finish. So you've got to the one table, you've got to the final. You got a taste for it again?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, I've got nothing else to do. So I'll be back next year. Don't worry about that. And listen, as I say, I think that what I've shown myself this week, if nobody else, is that, when I play my best stuff, I can still mix it with the big boys. And, as long as that carries on, I'll be back.
And one man who won't be back next year, as chairman, he'd be president, is Barry Hearn. What has Barry done for snooker?
Yeah, I mean, quite simply, when Barry Hearn and Matchroom took over World Snooker, we had 6 events in the Masters. Snooker was dying, its cash reserves were dwindling, and its popularity in terms of ticket sales, revenues, viewing figures were on the down. Barry has simply turned it around, and we are now the healthiest we've ever been, going into more homes, to more eyeballs around the world, into more countries, more territories, with more events to play, more opportunities than ever before. So quite frankly, he's done a wonderful job, and we're all very, very grateful.
Well, Shaun, thanks for entertaining us for the last 17 days, and unlucky tonight.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks so much to Shaun Murphy. Let's pay tribute to one of the biggest characters in the world of sport.
Having his heart in the right place, having sport and endeavour right in there, and being honest to the sports people, he's been there for them, as he was for me.
If it weren't for him, we probably wouldn't be playing this game now. I think the game would be dead. There'd be no tournaments at all. He was in that much dire straits.
He just did everything that he possibly could for snooker.
Yeah, he's been a breath of fresh air.
Hats off to him, can't thank him enough.
He brought snooker back to life, back to where it should be.
Strange feeling, isn't it? After all these years, of putting in a decent shift, nearly 50 years now, promoting sport around the world. And today we call a halt on it, in pretty well complete terms, really.
He's transformed snooker since he took over. It was dark times, 6 or 7 tournaments in a year. Now we've got maybe 25.
He's come in, turned it on top of his head, and we are a major sport now. And the stuff he's done, and to get us playing all through the pandemic, really, is only pretty much the China events we haven't played in, and other events that have cancelled. He's put other ones in his place,
I was so honoured to come back in 2010 when the game was in a bit of trouble, because I knew I could do a job for it. I had confidence in my own ability to turn the corner around, and it worked.
I guess I was his first world champion. It was 2010 when he come in and he kind of rescued the sport. Really, it was really struggling.
His passion, his excitement rubs off on everyone, and everyone wants to work hard, and everybody has working hard to get us to this point.
I mean, before he took the game back over, it was sort of going nowhere really. 6 or 7 tournaments a season, more or less part-time snooker players having 3 months off in between seasons, and it was probably going to go under.
He managed me for 5 years when I won the World Championship, and he was always brilliant. I mean, when we used to be jet lagged and you'd go to Hong Kong or you'd go to Thailand and you'd go out to meet the sponsors and the players would be half asleep, Barry was as bright as a button. The jet lag never seemed to affect him.
He's a sort of amateur sort of psychologist in a way. He knew what to say, and he'd come in the dressing room and I'd just had a bad session. He wouldn't want to talk about snooker. And by the end, his enthusiasm was addictive, and you walked out having a laugh and a joke with him in the dressing room, and you walked out and you forgot about how bad things were on the table.
Certain people, certain things. Snooker is something I owe, and it all started here in 81, really.
It was everybody's win, and I think that showed. He couldn't help himself. He had to get it. Nothing about It was all about just we did it. I knocked the balls in, but it was very much a team thing. And to have him in my corner was amazing.
Nothing beats 81. That was a quantum change in my life. My friendship with Steve is important. That I said the other day, we're like a married couple. We don't talk as much as we used to. We don't go out as much as we used to. But when we want to tell each other, that's the first phone call we make. We're mates, but he changed my life. I hope I made a part in changing his. Snooker has changed both of our lives. You know, the pleasure we've had out of it, you couldn't begin to describe. You know, it's taken us around the world. It's made us famous. It's made us rich. It's made us laugh. Probably the most important.
I had a guy who was my mate, and I was a shy young kid, and he liked me, even though perhaps others didn't, you know, but he warmed to me and I warmed to him. And when he was the one giving it all that, it was me as well doing it, but I didn't have to do that. It was great that he did it.
I'm there to produce entertainment, to produce spectacles, to actually get that buzz, that feeling of a live crowd. And so for me, if it's like, as I wave slowly into the sunset, nearly, it's going to be a fantastic exit and a fantastic statement that together we came through this pandemic, and we come out stronger, we come out united, and we come out entertained by the Betfred World Snooker Championships. Doesn't get better than that.
Well, at the beginning of this fabulous tournament, we pledged £200 for every century to World Snooker's official charity, Jessie May. And if we said the hit 80, we'd round it up to £25,000. Well, we did that over a week ago. There was 108 ton-ups in the end. That is a record breaking. The record was 100 in 2019. So £25,000 goes to the Snooker's official charity, Jessie May. Let's find out what difference that will make.
I mean, you can imagine what COVID has done to fundraising in charities across the whole country, Mark. So literally every penny is essential. Governments come with a bit of help, not enough, as some might say. And that has made a massive difference to Jessie May, a small children's charity, as you know, based in Bristol, where World Snooker's administration offices are. So they're part of the family. And you are as well, and your generosity, you know, it's always difficult to say thank you to a sponsor, isn't it? Because that's what they do, but I can't tell you how much good it's done. You know, we've dug as deep as we can as well during this difficult year, and that 25 was the cream on the cake, mate, and that effectively pays for a nurse all year. And in these troubled times, with outreach being so important because people are not travelling, it's money well spent. You can go to bed tonight feeling very pleased with yourself because it's made a big difference to kids.
Yes, Mark's still with me. There's been incredible 108 centuries this tournament. Some of the standard of play has just been awesome, hasn't it?
It's been great. I mean, the snooker, as I keep saying, for the last 3 or 4 years, it's been as tough as it's ever been, you know. And yeah, this tournament been some fantastic snooker, as you say. 108 centuries, broke the record, basically smashed the record. So great for Jessie May, and great for the people watching over the last 2 weeks.
You're going to wake up as 4-time champion of the world. Now, when you first picked up a cue, 4-time champion of the world, what's that mean?
Yeah, incredible. I mean, when I was first started playing, all I ever wanted to do was trying to become world champion. I said to my father, I'll try my hardest to try and become world champion. There's no guaranteed, but I'll definitely be giving it 100% no matter what. And if I do, great. If I don't, there definitely won't be no regrets, that's for sure. But to win it 4 times, I'd never have thought that. I mean, I was sort of pinching myself when I won it the first time, so sitting here like years later winning it 4 times is incredible.
And your daughter's really enjoyed the experience, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's loved it.
Old enough now.
Yeah, and it's to the point now she's 7 in November. That's shot by, and she obviously understands what I do now when I go to work. So it's great that she was here, obviously sharing it with me and Vicky as well.
Will you look after this special trophy for 12 months?
Of course, yeah. I'll make sure. I'll make sure Vicky cleans it every day, and it comes back as gleaming as what it is next year.
As a final question, you're world champion, which is unbelievable. Did you realise the significance of a capacity crowd after what the world and the countries, you know, gone through? Is it even more special that you have just, over a year since we've had a capacity crowd in any sporting event, and you've just won a world title in front of a crowd? Yeah,
it was more special. I mean, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel coming here 2 weeks ago because we've played nearly 15 months with no crowd, and you sort of get used to it. So I thought, going back out there playing in front of a crowd, I thought it would be a lot nervous because it's been that long since we've played in front of a crowd. But a big thank you to World Snooker. You know, over the last year, 15 months, they've done amazing to even put some events on and obviously like the great help they've done to even put this on. Great for you guys to still be sponsoring the tournament, and what better way to finish off with a full capacity crowd.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Mark. You've been a fantastic champion in the past, and I know you're going to be a great champion this year. Thanks very much for joining us.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot.
Mark Selby, the 2021 Betfred World Snooker Champion. A capacity crowd. This is more than just snooker, but we've got to thank so many people to get this on. World Snooker, the Crucible, the broadcasters, the journalists in this room who cover this sport with such passion, the players and the officials as well, and you, the snooker fans. See you next year.
It's got twice now.
Super granite, isn't he? He's, you know, unfortunately for me, you know, I've known him since we were 9 years of age, and he's always been the same.
I wish you'd have come for me first, though. After Shaun speaks, I wish you'd have come to me first. I mean, how can I follow that? But you know when Daddy's away all the time?
Yeah, it's my fault.
It's this man's fault. You need to blame him.
Yeah, but now you should get a big present for today, shouldn't you? Oh, I'll tell you what, you can have that. You want that one?
Yeah, you can have it.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, that's probably my last one of these, so I shall. It couldn't have worked out better. Two great guys in the final, two great ambassadors for us.
Yeah.
And you produce snooker at the highest level. I mean, it's competitive right the way through.
Yeah.
You are one tough son of a bitch.